Hello everyone, we're back and now we're going to do the textures and get this thing exported and see that it's all good in Sketchfab. Okay, so if you notice, I haven't exported any UVs out yet, and I'm not going to need to right away. I'm going to go ahead and just try to put the materials together without exporting any of those and see what happens. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this base part because I have a specific metal for this. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that metal, which is in my source images, and we'll do the base color first, and that will... Oh, so now here's the... my base color is just that metal, it doesn't have any detail to it. So it's actually all going to come through the bump. So let's do the bump. File, turn this into a tangent space normal. And then we will go into here, grab the normal map for that. So normal, say open. Okay. Looks a little weird. That's okay. Doesn't have to look perfect yet. Let's see where the seam hits right there. It actually doesn't look too bad on the seam. And now so this is what I might end up doing is, let's go ahead and look at this. So this is a tileable texture. So I should be able to take this whole thing and actually go like this if I wanted to tile more over the surface. You can see, and I can go ahead and just look at this and see like, oh yeah, it's tiling, cool. Let's deselect that. So maybe that's kind of what I'm looking for. What you also want to do is, if you can get it to begin and end in the right spot, then you won't get any kinds of weird... See how this is like small? So what I could do here is grab this, and let's see if I move it all the way over to one side like this, I know that the texture starts right in the edge there. So as long as you go on one of these grid spaces here, as you can see, like there's a grid space there, that's where your texture is going to end and start. I can hold X and actually snap to that. And then from there, I can grab everything here, and I'm going to hit D on my keyboard. I'm going to move my pivot, and I'll just hold V and snap my pivot to right there. Hit D again. And then I can go ahead and, oops, I guess I got to do it on the tool specifically. So turn on your scale tool. I need the scale tool. And then I'm going to hold V and then hit D again. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So I can sit here on this seam. I'm going to turn off the flag there, and I can just adjust this till it looks like I got it into a good spot. And so what I know will definitely work is if I tile it right to here, right to this edge, this is actually going perfectly to, like, it's 2 tiles. So if I go right there to that edge, it's 2 tiles. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that. And so it's not perfectly on there. So I'm just going to grab this and hold X, and I'll just snap it right to the edge there. It'll just be a tiny bit, and probably no one will ever notice. So let's go ahead and look at the object now, turn everything off, and we should have a perfect tiling texture going all the way around. And it looks pretty good. It's a little wobbly here. That's not perfect. And that's the nature of the UVs going in like that. It's you might be able to get better if you, like if I went to the mesh and did a smooth, it might smooth that out a little bit. So let me undo that. See that, how it looks like look at this little kink right here, or this kink right there. But if you smooth it, it starts to hold those together, and then they look more straight. See how that looks nice and straight? So that's the only way that you're really going to get around that. It has to do with like the triangulation on the on these each one of these polygons. So I can do this and just leave it like that. It's pretty high poly, but if I wanted to look just right, you know, maybe do it like that. So the other alternative is you could like put this on a higher poly piece and then bake it out to the lower poly piece, bake all the maps out. to it, and it should come out pretty good. But, you know, we'll just leave it. We'll actually leave it like this. That's fine. So for this, I have just a generic like metal that I'm going to use. So I'm just going to put in one texture for it. And, you know, I'm not sure I saved it into the right spot. Let's see here. It's actually this one right here. So I'm going to go like that. And as you can see, we have a seam there, and that is going to be the nature of this unless I go ahead and do some kind of tiling like I just did with the other piece. Like I'd have to make sure that this stretched all the way across, which I could do. So let me just show you how that would be done. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to move these for now. And I can take this and make sure that... see, in this case, you could go into your UV toolkit, go to the, hold on, go to the settings and turn off the padding. And so turn that to 0, 0. And I'm curious to see if I do this, what will happen. Let's see, 2x2. Nope, didn't go outside of it. Okay, but from here, since it's going right to the corner, all I have to do now is hit D, hold X, and snap to this corner. There we go. And hit D again. And then you can scale this up till it hits right here on this edge. So what I want to do is just keep scaling that, so I'll close that. And may want to open this up a little bit more so I can see it better. And so we'll go like that. And we're almost there. It's really close, so at this point, again, I cheat a little bit, and I'm just going to grab this edge here and go ahead and just hold X and snap it to that grid side right there. And now if we come in here and we look at this, you will not see a seam. There will be a seam going up and down because it doesn't land right on the edge, but it doesn't matter because the object stops at that point. So now you don't see any seam in there. And you can do the same thing with this. So for this one, and actually this one could actually go up and down, that's fine, because this texture is seamless up and down and left to right. So either way will work. We can just move these out of the way. We'll never see them. And this one we can do the layout again. It's going to put it right there, and you can see that's like perfectly right there. And look at that, did it perfect. We don't even have to do anything. Object mode. If you come and look at this, you won't see any seam across there because we're using seamless textures. Okay. Next thing we're gonna do is, let's see here. We'll put. So for here, I'm not as worried about it. Let's see what this looks like. I'm not as worried about it because of the fact that it's one of those things where this is. It's going to be like too much resolution in there, but I think, you know what, why not? Let's just leave it like that. It's fine. No one will notice. We'll do that one, but this one we're going to leave alone. We're not going to worry about the seam on that one. And then these, let's just look at these really quick here. Yeah, we're not going to worry about those either. It's going to be so small, nobody would even notice a seam. Okay, so this piece here, we're going to need a texture that goes across it. So I'm going to do this. Let me do the layout for this one. And okay, so you see what happened right there? I have my setting right now as 2x2. So I think that's why it did that. So if I change this to 1x1, hit apply, see how it does that, and it puts it inside of there. But actually, I'm going to leave it at 2x2 for this. And go like that, because what happens is whatever's in this UV space will also continue into this UV space. But what I want to do now is I'm going to go to the faces, and I'm actually going to I'm going to take this and I'm going to hit D. No, actually, sorry. I'm going to hit R first, then hit D. You got to move it like this and go like that. Hit D again, and then now I can scale this to the edge. So it's stopping right on that edge. And if I middle mouse drag, I don't even have to be on top of the actual widget. As long as the widget is highlighted in whatever axis I want, I can just do that. So that's not perfect, but if I want to, I can go ahead and grab the UVs again, like we did before. It's going to be very hard to just grab those. Let me do this. We'll move this over for now. Go like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and snap this. Now, that's interesting. It's not grab. There we go. It didn't update. Okay, so hold X. There we go. Okay, so now I want to do the same thing here. Now, what you can do with this one is you could snap this to the middle. So there's another direction you can go here. Snap it to the middle. And now I can just use this and just scale it like this. And when it hits the edges, it hits the edges. So it should be pretty much like right there. It's pretty close. Or just shrink it down just a tiny bit and then hit the layout. Actually, let's... You want it, I'm sorry, you want it a little bit bigger and then hit layout and it'll fix it into... Now see that? Now how they're crossing over each other? That's fine. We're okay with that because we actually want these to sort of share the same space. It's okay to share the same space, or I could have it over here. Either way, it doesn't matter. But because the texture is going to go across the outside and the inside, it's going to be the same texture. So you'll see how that works in a minute. So okay, so the last but not least, so I know this is laid out to the to this texture space, so it should be fine. And then I just want to double check on my card in here. So I'm going to go ahead and just, let me go ahead and move that up for a second. So I'm going to select these. Yep, that's exactly where I thought it was. Okay, so undo. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually not going to even save out any UVs because I know where... You know, for the generic ones, I got those all fixed, and then I know where all the rest of these are. They're all basically using the 0 to 1 space, so all I have to do is make the texture for it and then bring that texture in. Okay, so let's see here. The lampshade, let's start with that. So I'm going to go ahead and go open, and I don't think I saved the lampshade off into here. I think I put it in the source images, or I'm sorry, the images right here, and... It's this one. Okay. See how it's got like this fabric to it? That's what I was looking for. Although I'm not a huge fan of the orange. I'm not a huge fan of the orange. I'm going to show you guys how to do something here. Let's go to the interwebs again. And I will go back to here. I'm going to go back and do, let's do parchment. Okay. Let's see if we can find something interesting here. Okay, that's not exactly what I want. Let's go back to paper. That's getting better. That's getting better. Okay. I want some kind of like interesting texture on top of it. So I can layer textures together to make things look, you know, cooler. So let's go ahead and do that. It's a bit dirty. I'm looking for one that's like gives a good interesting read, but not too dirty, not too nasty. That's kind of interesting, but I don't know if I want the crack in there. This one might be interesting. Okay, yeah, let's try this one. It says 4K, so it's a big one for sure. All right, and let's see here. We can do this one, or let's just do this one. Let's do the bigger one. And I'll download that. Okay. So let's say I don't like this color. I can just desaturate it, Ctrl Shift U, okay, that'll desaturate. Or the more savvy way is to click on this little icon right here and go to hue saturation. This drops a oh, what do they call these again? I've been using them for years. Fill layer, adjustment layer, that's it, adjustment layer. I don't remember what they're called because I've been using it for so long. I just use it. Okay, so it drops an adjustment layer. I'm going to grab that thing that I just downloaded, so that's right there. I'm going to pull that into here, so I just drag this down and I hold shift and drag into here. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, that works. All right, so we're going to go ahead and close that. And for this, it's a little fuzzy already. I'm thinking about resolution right now. Like, I don't want it to look like fuzzy or anything, but I think this will be fine if, let's actually do this. Let's go ahead and get this black out of there. So I'm going to go ahead and just go to the wand tool and select all this black stuff. So it's not even selecting everything. Let me go to select color range. And when you get this box up here, I can just click on the black. And you see here, it's going to show the white where it's going to select. This fuzziness is like how exact it is or how far it goes out. So like you can drag and it will show you like it's going to grab more. So I want it like that. That's good. So hit delete, get rid of that. And I'm actually going to take this background. I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to hit Ctrl T on my keyboard, Ctrl T, so I can size this. And I'm going to size it to the size of this parchment paper. And I'm not too worried about, I'm making it smaller, so I'm not worried about the resolution changing. I'm going to actually be crunching this anyway into as like a square shape eventually. I'm just going to hit my checkbox. I can actually get rid of this for now. And what I'm going to do is take this parchment paper and I want a few things out of this. One, let me make an extra copy and I'll hide the lower copy. I'll just change this to the blending style. I'm going to make, oh, not that one. This one, the blending style, I'm going to make like color. Let's try that. So now this gray background is actually getting its color from this layer on top of it. So that's how that works. Okay, and if I bring this back out, obviously it's going to look like 100% the same. I can change this. I'm going to bring this above everything. So this is what we have. I'm going to change this to overlay and see what happens. So overlay is a mixing where like the blacks get blacker and the lights can get lighter. So, oops, Ctrl D. That's not what I meant to do. So that actually looks pretty good to me. So I got some color coming from it, and then I've got this, you know, more of an orangey tint to it. I think that's closer to what I was looking for. So just by blending these two different textures together, you can get like a more unique texture. And I'm okay that it's going to like have this seam in there because lampshades actually do have a seam in there. And it does get a little bit darker at those seams. So what I'm actually going to do now is I'm actually going to look at my image size. Well, let's do this first. Let's crop it. I'm going to crop this down to the edges here. So just drag that. If your snap is on, it should snap to the edges. If it's not on, you go up to view and you turn on your snaps right there. And we just check that, and there you go. Okay, so I got that, and now I'm going to do this. I'm going to go Control Shift I, and I'm going to look at my size here. I'm going to change this. I'm going to unlock the ratio here, and I'm going to change this to 1024, which is what all my textures have been so far, pretty much, by 1024. So I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to hit OK. There we go. Now I have a square texture. It is crunched a little bit, but it should work out right. If it doesn't, we can make adjustments in the UVs or something like that. So that looks pretty okay to me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab everything here. So just select one, shift select the other ones, Control T, and I am going to just maybe, I want to drag it and make sure that it's outside the edges so we're not getting any like anything underneath that you can see. You know what I'll do instead of doing that? So let me just hit enter. I'm going to just cancel it. Actually, we'll do this. We'll cancel it. Let me look here. See, this is my concern right here. You see this little thing right there, right? We don't want that. And what's happening is that this See right here, it doesn't go all the way to the edge. Now in the rest of it, some of the parts do and some of the parts don't. This is where I'm actually going to turn my snap off. I'm going to turn the snap off, and I'm just going to adjust these two layers. I'm going to hit Ctrl T, and then you can actually hold Control and drag on here, and then you can actually drag just this handle by itself like that. So I'm just going to drag that outside a little bit. And I kind of like that little dark corner there. I think I'll leave that. But I don't want any transparent area like that. So I'm going to drag that outside like that. And then like that. So we'll do this. Now, I still have area that's outside of my canvas. So if I hit C for crop, like if you drag this out, there's actually area outside of it. So I'm going to undo that. I want to crop. See that little area right there? Let me zoom in on it. So you got this little area outside here that we just pulled out. I'm actually going to crop it again. So the crop will snap to the edges, to the original edges, and then you just hit crop again, and then it gets rid of those outside. You just want to make sure those aren't messing with your stuff. Right here, this one little thing is not good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two and I'm going to collapse them to, you know, I can't collapse them. Let's do this. I'm going to look at this. So I'm going to go and I'm going to do a stamp. So stamp. And what the stamp is you select the layer and it's like a brush. So you can use your bracket keys to change the size of your brush. So I'm going to make it like this. I'm going to hold Alt and you're going to get a reticle. So when you hold Alt, you're picking where you want to stamp from. So I can go like this and I can stamp from right here. And you just look at your opacity is 100%, your flow is 100%. So as I stamp, and I'm stamping on current or below. So I want to make sure that I don't have anything for this one. I just want to stamp on this by itself. And I'm just going to go like this and hold Alt, click my reticle down, and then I'm just going to stamp this area out right there. So that's one way that you can do that. I see there's a little problem there. And then I can check this corner too and make sure there's nothing. Yeah, so see how there's like some transparency here? To get rid of that, I can just duplicate this whole layer like so. Change this back to normal like that. Change this to normal. And see, it's starting to fill that transparency, and just duplicate it again. Because it's just like, it's going to like stack all these, the transparency on top of each other, and you can get rid of it. If I hit Ctrl E, I just collapse it down into itself, and now you can't see any transparency in those little areas there. Okay, so, and then if I bring this back out, I don't know why my thing's making all this noise now. What are you doing, Photoshop? Why are you making all this noise? My thing's making a bunch of noise, but I don't think I'm recording this system sound, so you guys are probably not hearing that. So that's how I would do that part. Now this part here, what I can do is just delete this. Oops, delete that. Bring this back out, and then I'll just make a duplicate of this and make that the overlay. There you go, like that. Hit Control 0 will zoom out to your extents. And there we go. This is what I want basically for my texture, but I'm also going to make a luminosity pass on this as well. So when I say luminance, I should say it's going to be a emissive texture. So I'm going to use this same texture that I'm getting here. I'm going to go ahead and we got to change this to color. That should be color. That should be overlay. Oh, hello. You got to bring those out. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Let me just check this before I go any further. So I'm going to save this off as a, we can do a PNG. So let's just do that, and we'll go into source images, and we'll call this fast lamp shade color. Back to Maya. So now we just grab this, and let's go back to our classic view. We'll get that. There we go. Okay, dokie. See? Oh, look at that. Look at that. Looks kind of cool. Not too bad. It's a little bit stretched looking. Looks a little bit stretched to me. It's not terrible. So oops, let's grab everything. So I feel like that's closer to how it should be looking. But we're losing resolution. So let me see. I got to get it off of the wireframe so I can actually see it. That's actually not too bad. That's not too bad. Although it does lose some resolution. So I think I'll just leave it like that. I can always adjust the UVs later if I don't like it. But so we're pretty close with that. If we want to bump from this, we just hide all these. And this should probably work pretty decent, just trying this as a bump, because the natural ambient occlusion that happens is going to make this grayscale look, you know, a little bit, it's going to make it look a little bit bumpy and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and just save this out, save as, and we'll make this a PNG. And it keeps trying to go back to the original file. So call it that, but now we'll just change the name to bump. Let's take a look. So we'll come into here, bump mapping, file, and we just grab that one that we just made, open, and there you go. It's a little bit harsh. I definitely almost always take my bump and turn it down to like a slight, you know, like 0.3 is usually pretty decent. That's usually where I go first, is I try about 0.3 to see how it's going to look. So you can use bump or normal in Sketchfab, so that will work as well. All right, now the emissive. Let's get the emissive done. So what we want, and I totally went to the wrong thing there. Let's go back to Photoshop. What we want is we want a glow to kind of show through this thing where the lamp is, or I should say where the light is, okay? So the way you can do something like this is you can go ahead and just kind of make a gradient. There's probably like a lot of like more complex ways you can do this, but I'm gonna just show like a simple way. You turn on your gradient, so your gradient tool, and you're going to want to pick white. So what you'll do is just choose that and have the transparency one selected, which is the second one. Okay, so it has transparency in it. And then you're going to want to use the circular tool like this. Or actually for this one, it might be better, now that I think about it, don't use the circular tool. Use the, actually the circular tool is totally wrong. Don't use the circular tool at all. Use the this one that it's a ramp in and out. So like you have your single ramp, and then you have one that ramps in and out. And what you do is you hold shift, go to like the center of the picture, hold shift, and when you hold shift, it'll lock your axis. So you can just click and drag upwards, and then you can get something like this. And when you take this and you make this like a linear dodge add, or let's see, that's not working right. We do an overlay, something like that. You can actually make it look like it's glowing, but we want to actually make like just an emissive look. So the way we can do that is we can just leave this as this linear dodge add a separate layer in, and then we can just take this and make this black. So we'll just fill that, Alt Delete right there with black. Now we want to make sure that this doesn't go all the way to the edges. Probably, well, you know, it actually doesn't. It wouldn't be that bad if it goes to the edges, because you know, the light is going to light up most of this lampshade. So we can take something like this and we can save this as a PNG, and we'll call this emissive, or we'll call it like lampshade emissive. I got to keep this naming constant, so fast lamp shade, if I can spell, emissive. There we go. And we're going to save it in the right spot. Save. Okay, now don't worry about looking at this in Maya. This is going to be something that looks a lot better in Sketchfab. But if you want, you can come into here and you can go to the incandescent and you can drop it into the incandescent and see if it looks okay. You know, I don't know if it's going to work exactly right, but it'll work pretty good in Sketchfab. But so that's basically the gist of what you're trying to do, is something like that, where you're getting a hot spot. Now, if it's too hot, then you just come into Photoshop and just lower the opacity of this, like do something like that. Okay. And if you want, you could make it a little yellow to tint it or something like that. It depends on what you need. You know, there's a bunch of different things you can do with this, but let's just say I think it was a little bit hot, so I'm going to go like that, and I'm going to, you know, resave it. So like that. And you could make your gradient a little bit different too. If you want it to be like kind of stronger through this area, then you can adjust your gradient. Okay, so that part's done. Now let's do the filament. This is the special part. Okay, so let me open my filament texture, which I believe is in my source images, or I keep saying that, it's in my images. Let's open the bulb, and then let's open the DNG. So like I said earlier, I took a picture with my camera, and I did a raw picture, so I'm going to show you some adjustments with raw. And then let me do this first. Let me just go, before I do the raw adjustments, let me go ahead and just go open image. And I'll just do it because you might not have raw on your camera or on your phone. My phone will take raw pictures. So I'm going to go ahead and just drop in an exposure, first of all. So this is anything that anybody can do this to any JPEG. I can go ahead and like blast this thing up brighter if I want. Drop in a levels. Okay, let me explain why I'm doing this. I want to isolate just the lights out, and I want the black to turn completely black and to be transparent. I'm going to use that as a transparency. So basically, I'm going to try to isolate everything, and you'll see in a second so how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the black, and I'm going to add black back in. So this is actually like when I'm taking my bottom slider here, I'm actually like adding more black in. So anything that was, any pixels that were in the range of 64 as far as value and below are now 100% black. So that's how this levels works. And same thing with, like, you can add white in. So, but we're not going to do that. We're going to just add black in, and then we can grab the midpoint like so. So we're going to do something like that. And it's not going to be 100% perfect. This is, like I said, I'm trying to do this fast, even though this is going way over an hour. But I'm just doing the best I can to try to get this all done. But something like this will work pretty good. So if I went ahead and took this, I'm going to go ahead and hit Ctrl A, Ctrl Shift C, and then Ctrl V. I'm going to paste that in. So what it did was, you know, like, it's just whatever we were seeing, I just pasted back in. So I can manipulate this without having to worry about these levels being on there and stuff. So now what I want to try to do is I'm going to select just the black. So I'm going to go select, color range, and I'll select the black. And you can see it's showing me like a preview about what it's going to select. So I think that's probably pretty good. Something like that. I think that'll work for this. And I'm going to go ahead and just take that and make like a black and white map out of that. So what I'll do is I'll make one layer and I'll hit Ctrl Shift I to inverse my selection. So now it's just this area, and I'll go ahead and fill it with white. So it's Alt Delete. That's going to fill it with white. And then I'll go ahead and hide that. And then I'm going to put a black layer behind it. And I'm going to make this Ctrl Delete. Oops, deselect first. Ctrl D and Ctrl Delete. So now I have a flat layer there, and then I have, this will be my alpha. Okay, but there's something I haven't done yet. I have not made this thing a square texture. So I'm going to hit crop, and I need to make this thing a square texture. So basically, there's a couple ways I can do this, but I think the easiest way is if I hit Ctrl Shift I and get the image size, or I'm sorry, Ctrl Alt I, get the image size. I'm going to look at the largest, the height is 4016. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new image that's 4016 by 4016. So I'm going to go like this, and then Control Alt I. So all I did was I hit Control N to get it to be to make a new image, and then I'm going to make this 4016. So that was Control I to get the image size again, and there we go. So we'll go like that. Okay, so I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take all the layers here, hold Shift and grab everything, and I'm going to hold Shift and drag into this new one here. So all I had to do is pull that down. Now this here I actually don't really need anymore because I've got everything in the new one. So I'm just going to close this, and so that leaves the original alone. And what I'm going to do now is now that this is square, I can start to manipulate where I'm going to have this texture actually be like kind of active. So I'm going to go like this, and I'm just holding Shift while I drag. Actually, I don't think you have to do that anymore. Yeah, you do actually still. I think in the newest one, if you have the newest download of Photoshop, it keeps the aspect ratio unless you hold Shift, and then it lets you change it. So I think they reverse that. But anyway, in the old one, you had to hold Shift to keep it like square. Otherwise, it would like let you free transform it like this, and it would change the aspect ratio. So I just want to do this and get this thing like right in the center, like so. Or for that matter, I can go all the way off to the side here, like that, because you'll see why I'm going to do that in a second. So I'm going to go like that, and just, that's fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take every layer, still have every layer. I'm going to hit Ctrl T, and I'm actually going to slide this out like this. And why, you ask? Why would I do that? Well, we're going to use the entire UV space. So it'll actually slide everything back where it originally was. So the aspect ratio should be pretty close. I'm doing a little bit willy-nilly, of course, but hit enter. So I went ahead and just cropped it again like I did earlier. You can just hit enter and then make sure you crop out the old stuff. But anyway, so now what I can do is I'm going to just use this. So I'm going to hit Ctrl A, Ctrl Shift C. I'm going to use this as an alpha. So Ctrl V. There's my alpha. So that's the only area that should show through. The rest of this will be a color, and I can use it as an emissive map as well. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to say out separate ones. So this is going to be, we got to select this again. This is going to be my emissive, okay? And then this is going to be my color. So the color is going to be less intense, and the alpha will get rid of all these other stuff that you can see in there. But the color is going to be less intense, but then the emissive will be like glowy and more intense, like that. Okay, so that was just with these two on. So that's all that was. Okay, so we'll do this as, we'll save this out, Control Shift S, as an emissive map. So we'll do a PNG. We'll call this filament emissive. That's good. And then I'll hide that, and I'll say Ctrl Shift S. This one I'm going to save as a targa, just so I can get my alpha channel in there. Okay, so I'm going to call this is going to be filament color and 32-bit. So we get that alpha channel. Okay. Now, let's give it a go. Let's see how it looks. You see my recording stuff. There we go. I thought that was up underneath everything, but it wasn't. So let's do this. Let's grab these things. Deselect that. Control 1. We'll isolate those. And let's grab that. I'm going to deselect that. So now I know I have just the inside one selected. And that's got its own material. We'll go to File. We will go to Filament Color. Say Open. So now, watch this. Let's take this bulb and turn the transparency, translucent, transparency. There it is. Make it like that. And then this, go into here. Hit 6 on your keyboard, and there you go. So we've got that in there, and it's got one on each side, right? And then we can go to the incandescent and load in the emissive. There you go, and now it looks glowy. Cool. So if we select these and deselect that, if you wanted to shape these a little bit, you said like, well, I kind of wanted that. These were actually reversed, so it actually should, because I was taking it from the other angle. I was taking it from like an up down. You can do something like that, and then you can just pull these down a little bit. And if you wanted to, you can just take. Oh, really? Why? Let's go over to see. Oh, Maya, please. All right, let's just do this. Take the vertices here. So I just isolated it. That's all I was doing there. You can go something like that, so that the filament like pops out a little bit, so it fills the actual light bulb, if it helps the look. All right, so we go like that. We can't even see the light bulb anymore, but it's there. It's right there. We can take this, and so we can see it a little bit. Just bring it a little bit back. Make the eccentricity really tight. Like that. There you see it now. So it's going to be something like that. Now, this is a simple way to do it. It's kind of like a fake, but I think we might be there. We might be ready to export to Sketchfab, and that will be in the next one. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.